had more control over than this one perhaps, but this first was something that I guess came to us, and I think as we go on, we'll see that there are certain advantages of what we're going to be doing today. But it's quite a departure from from our normal delegate assembly. If you recall, last year being in the U.S. and other years where we were in face-to-face situations.
A cara con la situación. Creo que lo que vamos a hablar hoy es sobre un nuevo paso hacia adelante positivo y también
dans un pas nouveau et positif pour la représentation mondiale et globale.
Signed up, number of countries we had signed up. To me, anything we can do to improve our global outreach and our worldwide representation is a good thing. And I do believe this virtual approach is a very good way to go, even though it was thrust upon us by the pandemic. It might have been a way we went anyway. But we'll see. We'll see. And even though we'd like to be together, this is a good approach. Thanks, you. What we're seeing today is a reflection of the way we're changing as a result of the pandemic. And as I said, in some cases, I think this is for the better. Thanks, you. It made me think of the Alltech Ideas Conference. This is a conference that's held in the US every year. It attracts many journalists from, as you can see last year, this conference attracted 119 journalists, mostly agricultural, some straight business, but mostly agricultural, and 3,500 participants from 68 countries. And Alltech, as you know, is a good partner with us. It's helped the Young Leaders Program get established and has really made a difference. So there's many journalists who do go to this Alltech Ideas Conference. So in May, it attracted 119 journalists, 3,500 participants from 68 countries. Very impressive. Thanks, you. This year, it went virtual because it had to, like ours. It attracted 585 journalists and 23,000 participants from 118 countries in the first week. And it's going to be ongoing through the year, which I guess you can keep a virtual conference going as long as people will come and go. But it just underlined to me that when I saw these numbers, that maybe this virtual conference is really, really something to address and behold. Presidium had to make a big decision as well when so many things.
Hacer una decisión sobre esto por la pandemia.
J'étais un petit peu inquiété comment on va organiser l'assemblée de cette année, mais ça se passait bien.
I asked him about what did he think, what did he think was such a draw for this virtual conference that they had? He said to me, going virtual opened doors, giving access to people who would otherwise be unable to take part in the conference he had due to the
personas que de una forma no pueden formar parte de la conferencia debido al costo del viaje o también el
administratif. Et lorsque je pensais dans notre mission, IFAJ, c'est pour tout le monde. C'est une chose pour tout le monde.
Meeting face to face, hard to replace. And we'll be face to face again in Denmark next year. And it's always great to see the agriculture in those countries. There's no substitute for actually being there. Thanks, you. But when we look around it, and we're in such a global experiment right now about the way things are changing and how we're going to connect and how we're going to go forward. Let's try to learn from what others are doing and what we're doing ourselves. What's right, what isn't, what's working, what isn't. And I think the key is here that we'll find ways to bring as much value as possible to an IFAJ membership, no matter where a member lives. And that to me is really a key to the global outreach, to the global connectivity that we have as IFAJ. Thanks, you. So I think like the rest of the world, the pandemic has affected IFAJ, including the Congress delivery and the strategic partnerships that we've developed. We'll have to work hard at that. Thanks. I think as we go on, this is actually part of my report later on, Hugh, but I think we can just maybe carry on with it. We're going to see that we need to, and you'll see this today as some of our Presidium members report, some of the executive bring forward some ideas that have been percolating. We're going to need to exercise some fiscal responsibility this year, not unlike other organizations or companies or probably our own personal situations. We're going to have, IFAJ will have to exercise some fiscal, some financial responsibility like we never have before. We're fortunate that we're in very good shape financially, but to stay that way, we'll have to do.
De esa manera, tenemos que hacer cosas extraordinarias. Pero son cosas extraordinarias.
Par rapport à notre budget. Merci, Hugh.
It's like we're seeing today in our virtual Congress. Things can be pulled together quickly and efficiently and effectively. And there'll be lots of opportunities that come up that we didn't even plan on, that have arisen because we're looking around. We're connected people. As journalists, we're very connected, and we see things that are good. We saw some great suggestions come forward yesterday in the session about investigative journalism. We saw some good suggestions come forward. Some that were put forward before, but we didn't, or maybe not acted on. But now there's an impetus to do more things virtually, more things that are going to bring us together in creative ways that will make the value of an IFAJ membership important. Thank you. And this is the point about we need to show value like we never have before. The value of an IFAJ membership. I really believe that an IFAJ membership is one of the best deals around for the connectivity that people get for what is a relatively reasonable amount. There's all kinds of value to be had if people take advantage of it. And I think there's going to be more opportunities come up that will give members the opportunity to take part. And some of the other Presidium members, again, will be talking about that later on in their reports. But the emphasis, the impetus will be for IFAJ to show that value. Thanks, you. And I believe we can do it. I believe we're really up for the challenge. When you look at what we've accomplished over the last year, over the last 4 years, over the last decade, I believe we can do it. I believe IFAJ is very much up for the challenge, and I'm looking forward to, I'll be a past president soon, and then a member. I'll look forward to pitching in. I think we can do it. We know we've got passion. We're passionate journalists who believe in in what we do and in IFAJ, as evidenced by the 82 people that we have here today for the Delegate Assembly. That passion has turned into commitment, and it's shown in the bravery that we've shown over since 2014 to change our constitution, go forward.
Trabajo y el liderazgo. Cuando vas a IFAJ para los años, tomó un poco de...
On ne savait pas quoi faire, mais les choses ont développé bien.
So proud of the way the Presidium is pulled together and the way the members of the executive have stepped forward to represent their countries and their guilds, and to say, hey, I'm here because I believe in the tenets of IFAJ. I believe in the global outreach. I believe in the professional development aspect that we're working towards, and the youth development aspect. And it will take strong leadership from the Presidium, but also from the executive, as it has been stepping forward, and from delegates who inform the executive, who inform the Presidium, which influences the direction that we take. So even though these are big changes that are upon us right now, I believe we're up for the task. Thanks you. And I want to thank the executive members, the Presidium, and the Global Office for the support you've given me over these 4 years that I've been president, as we've made this commitment to global outreach, to professional development, and youth development. Thanks you. And I really do, I ask you to support the new leadership in the same way that you supported me. I felt a great deal of support all around the world. And I think that support has come because everyone has been behind the approaches that we've taken.
El approach que estamos tomando tiene muchas buenas sugerencias. ¿Cómo podemos tener una representación global?
Il faut, parce qu'on veut être une organisation toujours démocratique et directionnée à l'avenir. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde.
And Lena can proceed.
Okay, Lena.
Yes. Can you put up my pictures?
There we go.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. This has certainly been a special spring or autumn, but I will try to report what we have done. Next picture, please. The newsletter has been affected by the COVID-19 situation and all the uncertainty around it. We have only managed to publish one issue because we waited, for example, we waited for the decision about the Congress. But we will try to get out another issue in September. Next, please. But this doesn't mean that we haven't been communicating. We have been communicating on our website and on Facebook and other channels. And we have also heard, and there has been discussions that the communication could be better. And we have discussed that during the autumn, we will start to work to improve our communication together with the communication committee. And we will probably send out the survey to you and ask you how you want your communication in the future, what channels you prefer, and how we can improve the communication. Next picture, please. And we have also been working on the website and on IFAJ portal. And I will try to explain this for you together with you. During the spring, the executive members has been signed in batches onto the portal. And there is a directory with photos and profiles of the executive members. There will be a discussion forum for topics and questions. We will soon be able to order press cards from the portal, and there will also be an archive with documents from our meetings, minutes, and so on. And soon the individual members will also be able to sign up to the portal. And the request that was put up to yesterday at the session, maybe we could use the portal to do the request we had yesterday. We will certainly find out many more usable things which we can use the portal for. Next, thank you. This is an example on how it will look on the portal. You can see the different persons there and what they are able to, and how they are able to present themselves. Do you have anything you want to fill in here?
No, Lena, I think you've covered.
No, yo puedo hacerlo.
Delegate assembly out of the way. It can be our focus.
¿Tienen preguntas sobre esto?
Un autre membre jusqu'à l'automne.
No? Well, then I think that was the end of my report. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lena. I'm Steve. I'll be talking about the Secretary General report, which is largely focused around professional development and education. Can we go to the next slide, Hugh? So one of the obvious things that's missing is often the thought about the Star Prize and the AgTech Reporting Awards. We won't be together to celebrate, but we will have a Star Prize and AgTech Reporting Awards ceremony after the Salute to Denmark tomorrow. So please join us for that. Unfortunately, I mean, times being what they are, we don't have sponsors for our programs this year. Adrian will talk about that, but we refuse to say no to the contest. We want to make sure that professional development.
Las oportunidades profesionales están abiertas para todos nuestros miembros.
Et on peut célébrer la forme de journalisme en toutes les formes.
Can we go to the next slide? So in that, in the doing of the contest, I just have to thank the judges because they have been extremely dedicated, really devoted to not just selecting the winners, but to giving every single participant productive and important feedback on his or her entry. And that's really the heart of this, is not just picking winners and celebrating the best, but it's also making sure that everybody gets something out of that. So, you know, Owen talked about the value of membership. This is a value that we can give to each of our individual members, and the only way that value really happens is thanks to the dedication of these judges. Okay, next slide. Again, unusual times. Our friends at Alltech and Corteva have both told us that they will see us next year for boot camp for the masterclass and the Young Leaders programs. So we are looking forward to resuming those programs next year. Okay, next one. The bursary, we should be hearing soon, we're hoping, about the bursary projects that have been going on over the past several months. Jez Fredenberg from the UK, unfortunately, because of COVID, had to actually go home from her exploration of wildfires and the changes that are happening within wildfires in different parts of the world. But when she can resume her travels, I know we will see her her results. And Jodie Gunders from Australia has been working with counterparts in Britain to explore the challenges and the opportunities and the approaches to agricultural journalism in public broadcasting. So the way that the Caterpillar Scholars Bursary was developed, we as IFAJ will be hearing the results of these projects, and it's another thing we can bring back to our members and learn from. Next, please. So there are other approaches to bringing professional development to all our members all around the world. We've had e-Congress Week, which you mentioned. We've had some great programs. John Hansen earlier, yesterday, I guess. We've had programs on press freedom, and it's really been phenomenal. So in addition to the live webinars that we've had and that the Salute to Denmark that we'll have tomorrow, we're also going to put these on the website. So we've got a webinar page that we'll talk about in a moment, and all of these resources are going to be stacked up there. So if you missed Theo de Jager from South Africa talking the other day, go watch that. It's absolutely worthwhile. It's free. It's something to share. It's a great opportunity for stories and also for perspective. So e-Congress Week has been, it's unfortunate that we're not together to be in Congress, but I think we've tried to make the most of it, and that resource will be available to everybody. Owen has traveled over the course of the past year to Spain and Austria, bringing professional development and guild development. I had a chance to go to Trinidad and Tobago and work on the idea, kind of support Kieran Bascombe in his effort to create a Caribbean guild. And if you look on the wall behind Kieran, you will see Busani Bafana and Prince Apaya also participated. So members of our master class and our Young Leaders programs, colleagues from around the world who are pitching in to create these professional development and guild development opportunities. And on the way home from our last executive meeting, I stopped in Northern Ireland and had a great opportunity to visit with the guild there, members of the Irish Guild, and present there as well. So these are the kinds of things that are available and that we're trying to do to support guilds and to support our individual members who are members of our member guilds. And so if these are things that are of interest, we can do them by Zoom. We can do them someday in person. We can do these outreach projects and bring professional development wherever the opportunities exist. Next slide, please. Okay, so I mentioned the IFAJ webinar page. So we've got a webinar series going, started about a year ago, and we've had some phenomenal webinars. Lindy and Lloyd from South Africa, Jeff Messa from Liberia. We've got other ones coming. Linda Grimstead and Melissa Dahlquist are going to do one on creating an ag journalism crash course for colleagues who don't know much about journalism. Owen has talked about doing one on knowledge transfer There's going to be a project from the American Equipment Manufacturers Association taking a look at the fruit and vegetable industry and how globally that's developing and mechanizing. So these kinds.
Este tipo de proyectos, siempre estamos buscando más. Si tienes uno que quieres compartir o tienes webinars que te gustaría.
Si vous voulez participer et aussi donner une intervention, vous pouvez le faire aussi. S'il vous plaît, vous pouvez nous contacter pour ça. Pour moi, c'est tout.
To help that person in helping continue some of these professional development efforts. Are there any questions? All right. Then
Steve, thanks very much for your report, Steve.
You bet. I'll hand it to Adrian.
Adrian, are you by?
I'm ready. Thank you.
All right.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are. It's great to see so many here for our first virtual delegate assembly. And so far we're hearing some great reports of what we've been.
Estoy escuchando buenos reportes de los que hemos escuchado. Esa es la razón por la que tenemos esta asamblea virtual.
Et le COVID-19, c'est la raison principale pour laquelle on est tous ici. Donc,
if you have any. And just a quick summary there of what we're going to be looking at, the accounts from 2019, a renomination of our auditors for the 2020 year, a vote on the membership fee for 2021, a quick summary of membership suspensions, unfortunately, and finally, to wrap up, a vote on the 2020 budget. So, Hugh, if I could move on, please. The 2019 accounts, members of the Executive Committee have already seen these and commented back on them. We have the final versions now. You all have a copy of those in your delegate packs. Currently, they are in the audit with David Markey. I was hoping to have his signed report back with us today to share with you all. However, he's not raised any questions with the status of the 2019 accounts. And so we will circulate that signed report as soon as it's formalized. But for now, what I'd like to do is just present them, take any questions on them, and then have your signal, your vote that you're happy with the accounts for 2019 as our usual formality. Next slide, please, Hugh. Just a quick summary on the income. As you see there, I've broken it down simply. And essentially, this is very much as we presented last year, the 2019 approved budget. I think the significant difference is we didn't quite reach the level of partnership support that we had expected. There were a couple of partners who we were hopeful about at the beginning of 2019 and who we're still talking to, but they didn't yet come to anything. And clearly, the events of 2020 will probably extend that discussion still further. But we saw perhaps around 20,000 euros, which we had hoped to get, always being optimistic on the partnership support. And so we were down on our anticipated income by around 20,000 euros, just under in the end. But otherwise, everything else held up well. And as you'll see on the expenditure, we were able to trim some of the expenditure accordingly. But the big line here, we had anticipated a deficit of around 5,000 euros for 2019, and the absence of that extra partnership, plus a greater than anticipated expenditure on masterclass and young leaders, mainly made up, as you'll see there, quite a significant amount on flights to transport our masterclass participants to the US last year. We had anticipated it would be an expensive year for those flights, but despite the best efforts of our travel agents, we were left with a large bill there, something that we expect, and that contributed to a larger deficit. Otherwise, very much in line with where we expected to be. And so largely happy with that. The deficit is of course always treated as an investment. We're using our reserves effectively and investing in the future of IFAJ through those reserves, and it's very good to have those. Something I want to come on to later when we look at the budget is how we can start to rebuild those reserves in the years ahead. So Hugh, can we go on to the next slide? First of all, any questions at all on those accounts from anybody? I don't see any chat, any questions, any hands up. Therefore, what I'd like to do is to move to our vote on approving those 2019 accounts. So if somebody is able to propose and second, I would be grateful.
Happy to propose, Adrian.
Thank you, Lee. And a seconder? Elaine has said in chat. Thank you, Elaine. So that is a motion to approve the 2019 accounts pending that formal sign-off from our honorary auditor, David Markey, proposed by Lee Radford and seconded by Elaine Shine. If we have no dissenters, no objectors, then that appears to be moved. Thank you. So our next task then is to nominate and approve the auditor for 2020. Our long-term auditor, many of you will know David Markey, long-term association with IFAJ and past president himself. He is happy to audit again for 2020, but that is obviously subject to the vote from the Delegate Assembly. So again, please, if I could ask for a proposer and a seconder to nominate David for the 2020 auditing.
I propose David Markey. That's from Brian Donaldson.
Thank you, Brian.
I second the motion.
And Goran's seconding. Thank you. And again, any objections to David Markey becoming our honorary auditor again for 2020? That's super. Thank you very much. David will be delighted, I'm sure. And then finally, the membership fee for 2021. As you know, the membership fee is in two bands. We have an upper band of €7 per member head, and that is applied to all IFAJ members who belong to countries, or at least who are based in countries where the GNP is defined by the World Bank as being over $8,000. And then there is another lower band, a lower income band for those countries with a GNP below $8,000, and that is €3.50 per head. Those fees, those levels have remained unchanged for many, many years now, certainly since the introduction of the euro, which was nearly 20 years ago. So we're not proposing to change those again. As you'll see from the accounts, they do make up a sizable amount of our income. And as you'll see from the budget, which I come to present later, how important that membership fee is in a year like this year, where we've had to really exercise some of that fiscal responsibility that Owen was talking about. We discussed this within the executive committee, and my recommendation to them was that we
Es que vamos a dejar la tarifa intercambiable. Entonces, vamos a mantener el precio de la membresía igual.
Je propose qu'on a discuté dans le comité exécutif. Je propose qu'on maintienne ce numéro-là pour...
and Kelly to second. Thank you both. And finally, we'll take the vote on that. Anyone raising an objection to the membership fee staying unchanged for 2021?
Adrian, I don't know if you see my raised hand. I just wanted to make a very short note.
Of course, go ahead,
Katharina. Yeah, as some of you know, we proposed the German Guild to make a revision of the fees, but during the executive meeting in Basel, we agreed that this will be postponed in the future when much things are clearer. So maybe in the future, but now we agree with the proposed fees. I just wanted to say this here in this group.
Thank you, Katerina. In that case then, with no further questions or discussions, let's move on to the next slide. There is always a time, a little bit of a minor disappointment always in the Delegate Assembly when we have to look at suspensions of membership. Now, last year, some of you who were in the Delegate Assembly in the US may recall that we actually had to take away the membership from India, unfortunately, because they were first suspended and then with no further contact from them and no further payment of any membership fees, we decided that their membership needed to be terminated. Now, we're not at that stage yet this year. We do have 5 countries who are more than 12 months in arrears, and the rules for IFAJ, we are very generous really with our period of grace, recognizing that many countries have different accounting years, and obviously particularly some of our lower level membership fee countries, there are actually some very significant barriers in transferring funds to IFAJ, getting funds out of the country to make payments. So try as much as we can to accommodate those, but there is a rule that where we have fees more than 12 months in arrears, so i.e. from April 2019 when the invoices are sent out through to April 2020, more than 12 months in arrears, then they are suspended. Now this means they are still IFAJ members for the time being, but they have no delegates and they are given no votes, and were they to want to propose any of their members for presidium elections, for example, they would not be able to. So it is essentially a withdrawal of privileges rather than an outright suspension. And at this stage, this is for information. It's the Treasurer's responsibility to oversee these initial suspensions. If we do have to move to a termination situation, then that will be something that we cover at next year's Delegate Assembly, and which will require the usual vote. But at this stage, it is merely a suspension. So those countries are, as I say, not allowed to vote. They have no delegates, but for the moment, they can still participate in other elements of IFAJ. So I would just add, if any of the delegates present today are in contact with colleagues and friends and so on in any of those countries, then please do encourage them to hurry up and pay those fees. Some of those we are in touch with, some of them we are getting silence at the moment. So if you are in touch with anyone from those countries, please do encourage them to get in touch with me and make those payments. Thank you. Finally, Hugh, next slide. The budget for 2020. I make no secret of this, and I'm sure you'll all understand, Owen referenced it at the beginning, that we've really had to exercise some drastic fiscal changes for 2020. As you'll see at the top, this is the second I've prepared this year. My initial budget, which was presented to the Executive Committee in our meeting in Switzerland in February, was approved, but we held that meeting just days, really, before the whole status of the effect of COVID-19 became apparent around the world, and the effect it was going to have on everybody. And in light of that, I realized we were going to see a massive fall in income. We needed to urgently reconsider our expenditure. At the time, we were still unsure about the Danish Congress, the status of that. But in light of that now, clearly we have got a very different budget in place. And the attempts that I've made to slash all unnecessary expenditure is as close as we can get, I think, to spending nothing, reliant on our reserves, but to use those reserves as little as possible while keeping IFAJ functional throughout the rest of 2020. Next slide, please, Hugh. So in summary, we have no sponsorship at all in 2020. Alltech and Corteva, as Steve mentioned, have taken a break from Masterclass and Young Leaders this year, evidently because of the lack of a Congress. Syngenta have put on hold their sponsorship of the global network, the IFAJ mobile program. And on top of that, we have no funds from John Deere or Rabobank, the two sponsors of the Star Prize, and additionally for Rabobank, the webinar sponsor. But we do still have membership fees, and thank you very much to those of you who have already paid your fees. We're about halfway through collecting all the fees from everyone at the moment, and I urge those of you...
Tarjetas, press cards. Y el 2020 no se ha acabado aún. Vamos a seguir manteniendo nuestras finanzas bien.
Pour faire le paiement le plus vite possible. Vous avez encore du temps pour le faire.
Thank you to all of those who are continuing to renew their press cards throughout 2020. It is making a difference, and we hope you still value those. And of course, 2020 isn't over yet. Countries are moving at different rates. We're seeing, in a lot of cases, although not all, a drop-off in the restrictions and so on. But realistically, from IFAJ's point of view, I think our activity is going to be restricted still to online rather than physical events for the rest of the year. Next page. So what I've done is cut. Everything that is possible we have cut out. And this is effectively notice to everyone. The executives already know this, but for delegates and wider guilds, that there is essentially no opportunity for further travel or event support from IFAJ in 2020, including programs like IFAJ Mobile, like the outreach program, being able to have a member of the Presidium present anywhere. And of course, without having the Congress, there's the sad fact that we're not meeting in Denmark this week. We have no Congress expenses. What we have tried to do is obviously to maintain the functionality of IFAJ. So that means keeping the global office funding going. And as Steve mentioned, although we have no sponsorship for the awards, we have incurred minimal expenditure, such as translation and other minor expenses, to allow the awards to go ahead in 2020. We felt that their professional development value, not to mention just the feel-good value. As Steve said, I hope a lot of us are able to attend that virtual award ceremony tomorrow. It is a feel-good factor. We know how much members value those awards, and we wanted to ensure that those could go ahead. So here you'll see the extent of how our income has dropped. I hope if we get all our membership fees in and press card levels continue as per last year, which they're looking as doing, we'll have around just over 30,000 euros as income this year. My original anticipated budget was 121,000. So we've got a drop off of nearly 90,000 there. I've cut the expenditure therefore accordingly. We had expected to spend around 120,000 on my initial budget, with a surplus of around 1,500 euros to put back into reserves. Instead, we're going to be looking at a surplus, a deficit rather, of just under 10,000 euros. And I'm hopeful that I can get that down further. I have a number of expenses still in here, such as outreach and IFAJ mobile and so on, which we are highly unlikely to dig into, but they are there as contingency figures should we desperately need to fund something or anything like that. And of course, there are still some expenses possibly that we'll need to incur to get on to the setup of IFAJ Foundation and so on, which I'll come on to later. But that is budget version 2. Very happy to take any questions on it. I hope I've explained it as well as I can. But if anyone does have any questions or wants to raise a point, I'm very happy to try to address them. Okay. Thank you. Of course, if you do have any questions after we've taken a vote, I'm very happy to address it by email if you've got anything that you just want to discuss on that point. But otherwise, if we could move to approval of the budget, that revised budget for 2020, and a proposer and a seconder, please.
I'm happy to propose, Adrian. Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
I'm happy to second. Magda de Tooy from South Africa.
Marvellous. Thank you, Magda. And so with the proposer, Jane Craigie, and seconder, Magda de Tooy from South Africa, any dissenters, any objectors? Otherwise, the motion will be passed. Super. Thank you very much for all your support. Right, moving on. That's the end of the financial report.
Thanks, Adrian. You can see on the in the chat that members are very appreciative of the hard work you've put into keeping us afloat, and then some. So thanks for your diligence. I know it's been a challenge, as you've had a baby in one arm, a toddler in the other arm, and a budget somewhere in between. So thank you for your commitment to that. And like you pointed out, one of the things that the pandemic has challenged us on is to be even more fiscally responsible than we already were, although I think I think we've always kept a very tight rein on things, especially under your leadership. This also shows us, this budget also shows us the value of partnerships. And
absolutely. And I think just to sign off, the best way to look at it is really with regard to finances, that things can only get better from here on in.
Yes, thanks, Adrian. That's I think you're right, and we'll find new ways to do things. We're doing well in our timekeeping here. We're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. So let's go on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is the new member recommendations. Katerina.
Hello. I don't know if I should put my camera on, but I have not prepared anything. I just want to inform you about the recommendation of the executive committee. The executive committee met in February in Basel, and they discussed the work of the membership committee, which has reviewed applications from the guilds of Sierra Leone and from Zambia. And as you know, to become a member of IFAJ, you need to send an official request for membership, and also you need to tell that you have read and accepted the IFAJ status. You need a statement expressing support for freedom of the press. You need to send a description of the association and its activities and its members. And you also need to send a copy of the association's constitution. So the guilds of Sierra Leone and Zambia, they sent all these papers, and the membership committee has recommended them to become a member. The executive also recommend this for the delegate assembly, but the delegate assembly has to decide whether these 2 guilds become members of IFAJ or not. And maybe one more information which might be interesting. Brazil and Chile, they have also expressed their interest in membership, but I think they haven't sent paperwork in time. And the decision which group in India will become member of IFAJ is still pending. So these are the only guilds we recommend to become member of IFAJ. And I think now we need a motion.
Yes, that's right. We need a motion to accept Sierra Leone and Zambia as members of IFAJ.
Stefan.
I will second Stefan.
Who is it again, please?
Stefan is, and I will second Jacqueline from the Netherlands.
Okay, thanks. You have that?
I do, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any more questions? Well, if there are not more questions, then I would ask you to organize the rest. Or
Okay.
should I ask?
No, that's okay. That's okay. We can do it from here. We do have a representative from Zambia present. Just wondering if our Zambia would like to say anything. Okay, we'll carry on then. Thank you to the Membership Outreach and Benefits Committee. And welcome Zambia and welcome Sierra Leone. And Adrian, I think we're back to you for an update on the IFAJ Foundation, please.
Marvelous. Thank you, Owen. Just to bring everyone back up to date with where we are, you'll recall that this time last year at the Delegate Assembly,
Estamos en el proceso de hacer una submisión para la Fundación IFAJ. Para todos ustedes que quieren ser la asamblea del año pasado o si quieren representar su país, este país.
with the foundation to effectively revitalize IFAJ. As you'll know, IFAJ at the moment is an association. It's effectively a club, but we have no legal entity and no legal establishment on which to base the organization, which in today's world is making things more difficult with regard to transparency, for example, from potential sponsors, and also on financial accounting regulations. And it's something we've been looking at for a while. We have been through quite a long process of discussion and consultation over the last 3 years with the executive and the wider membership to try to find a way through this. And what we came up with was to create or try to create a charitable establishment in which IFAJ can take forward its work. And that is the IFAJ Foundation. The decision was made to ground it in the UK, which has a very well respected and very well regulated charity sector. We felt that this would work very well with potential sponsors, as well as the NGOs with whom we hope to start working to further our activity. So that application was made earlier this year, right at the very beginning of the year. We put in the final application to the Charity Commission. COVID-19 then intervened, and they were delayed in coming back to us with their initial assessment. But that arrived in April, and that was a series of questions from them to double check what we're doing and how our charitable purpose is grounded, how we're proposing to fund the organization, and some other matters. A lot of it, I think, is simply to double check or to force us to make absolutely clear and consistent that we are establishing a charity for the right purposes. Clearly, there are a lot of advantages to being a charity, particularly an international charity. And the regulator has a responsibility to ensure that we're doing it for the right purposes and nothing untoward. So those responses, the deadline for replying to those is the end of this month. We have the replies that will be going in, and then as soon as possible after June the 30th, we hope, particularly with government departments and so on returning to a bigger sense of normality, we hope we will have the final response on the IFAJ Foundation. And that is still within our timeline. We would like to be able to have that running effectively from January the 1st, 2021, if we are permitted by the regulator. What we had hoped, of course, the other element of that was that we would have elections, the first elections and the first AGM for the IFAJ Foundation this year in Denmark. Clearly, we can't go ahead with that under the current circumstances, and so please continue to watch this space. As soon as we have more news on how the regulator is treating our final application and what that means for the trustee elections, when and where, we will let you know, and we will move towards that. And I know a few of you have expressed interest in populating that board of trustees or suggesting the external trustees who are going to sit on it. We'll keep you posted on that and let you know how things are developing. Next slide, please. The other side of our legal revamp is to turn what is essentially the trading arm of IFAJ, i.e. the global office and the receipt of membership fees, into another legal entity, which is IFAJ Limited. Again, this has needed some input from a team of solicitors here in the UK, and that has also led through our application to the Charity Commission to some queries from them as to how the relationship between IFAJ Limited and the IFAJ Foundation will work. Again, those points are being confirmed as we speak in that response to the Charity Commission. And as soon as that is resolved, then we'll move on to the next stage, which is to reconstitute the constitution so that it fits into the standard structure for a UK registered company. That shouldn't involve making changes to the nature of the constitution. It will involve simply a new document, we hope, which will need to be approved in due course. And given the success so far, I hope I'm not speaking too early, but the success so far of our first virtual delegate assembly, I hope perhaps that we will be able to address these issues perhaps in a further extraordinary delegate assembly to approve these two items later in the year. If anyone has any questions on those, I'm happy to take them now, or again, if you want to raise it with me afterwards in email, then please go ahead.
Any questions for Adrian, folks? The Foundation or IFAJ Limited? Okay, Adrian, thanks very much for that presentation. Item number 7 on the agenda is the Vision 2025 Committee Report. I will ask Jane Craigie to give this report, please.
No problem. Do you want me to share my screen?
Just getting it up for you, Jane.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Hugh. Can everybody hear me all right? Yeah?
You could be just a little bit louder, Jane, if possible.
Okay,
please.
let me put I'll put my headphones on. Give me 2 ticks. Is that better?
Yes, it is. It's nice to see your world map behind you too.
Thanks, Owen. Thank you, everybody. Good to see so many people. 91 people. That is just brilliant. I hope you're all keeping well. The Presidium asked me to give an update on the work that we've been doing for the IFAJ Vision 2025 Committee. And just to give you a little bit of background, to remind those who aren't aware, the Vision 2025 Committee was set up just over a year ago, and I was asked to chair it. And on our committee has been Pulak from Bangladesh, Jeff from Liberia, and Elaine from the US, Canada, and Jacqueline from the Netherlands. We were also asked by the Presidium to extend our remit from beyond just the vision outline and plan to include the 2 proposals that came through from Germany and Belgium at the Basel meeting in February. So just as a reminder, the Vision 2025 Committee was very much set up in line with the sorry, if you just stay on that slide, Hugh, that would be great. with the IFAJ's core mission. So giving agricultural journalists and communicators a platform for professional development and international networking. And it needed to be a vision that supports the role and aspirations and addresses the challenges for member guilds, journalists and communicators, that delivers professional and youth development and active participation from existing member countries, global outreach and affiliations with other global organizations, as well as press freedom. Next slide, please, Hugh. So we ran a survey. One of the things that from the outset we decided as a committee to do was to survey member countries, because you can't define a vision without knowing what the members want. So we put a survey out to all of the member countries, and just as a reminder, we, as an organization, we represent 54 countries and over 5,000 members within those countries. Next slide, please, Hugh. So 28 countries responded to the survey, and they represented member guilds with 10 up to over 450 members of those individual country guilds. And the membership was a really good range. So there were some new members, less than 1 year's involvement with the IFAJ, up to some countries like Germany and the UK with 60+ years of involvement with the IFAJ. So it gave us a really good spread of legacy as well. Next slide, please, Hugh. And this is an important reminder of what our guilds represent. One of the questions we asked is, what percentage of your guild members fall into these different employment categories? And as you can see, we are very much an organization that represents employed journalists, freelance journalists, communicators, and a whole host of other communication disciplines, including photography, videography, podcasting. So our base is very broad, and we are not just an organization that represents just journalists. We are one that represents all kinds of communication activities. And that is because it reflects the base, the membership base of each of the member countries. Next slide, please. So the top 5 asks that you all said you wanted from the IFAJ, your needs were Congress affordability, professional development, youth development, outreach to new countries and fellow members, and more regional events. Next slide, please, Hugh. The 8-point plan that we came up with, which was presented in the US Congress, at the US Congress last year, were to appoint a chair and a board for the IFAJ Foundation, because the IFAJ Foundation is going to be very important for addressing some of those key needs that I outlined in the slide before. IFAJ to create a process and support for member guilds to approach and enlist key agriculture
para crear aprocho, la lista de las naciones agricultoras. Eso fue algo muy claro.
Et donc, c'était très, très important d'adresser cet défi-là.
Of the IFAJ. The third point was to empower the IFAJ Foundation to build partnerships and create funding opportunities with international organizations. And they're all named in the IFAJ Vision 2025 plan. And what we wanted to do here, we're all very aware that there are funds available, international development funds available all over the world that could support the kind of work that IFAJ wants to do in the future. For example, youth development, professional development. For example, knowledge transfer in countries like parts of the African countries, parts of the African continent, sorry, where a lot of the communication work is outreach and agricultural development as well as communication. The fourth point, to establish member guild buddying system to support one another with the core challenges, and there are core challenges for member guilds, as we all know. And also that buddying service would develop opportunities between those buddies, address operational needs, and also importantly provide IFAJ with case studies that outline what's worked, and that could be how we've increased the number of members of our member guild, what sort of work we've done to raise funds for our member guilds, so that sharing of information that makes us all stronger. The fifth point, IFAJ to create a working group with a mandate to plan a strategy for cheaper or funded Congress delegate places and other CPD options. That point about affordability was a key note many times during the survey and subsequently. IFAJ to create an international CPD events webpage to list IFAJ, regional, member guild and online events. And as Steve outlined earlier, there's already been great progress made in this with the form of webinars, but there's definitely more work to be done here. IFAJ Presidium to scope a long-term resilience plan for the development of young people and the future IFAJ leaders, building on the masterclass and the young leaders programs. So this is to create a legacy. So we're great at investing time and effort during the congresses into this, but the membership felt that there's a need to develop that longer term and also to create a succession plan for the Presidium and for the IFAJ exec. And finally, to implement a strategy that ensures that inactive member guilds are proactively engaged with to determine any issues and offer support to prevent the IFAJ losing members. And Adrian outlined the members that have lapsed in paying fees. It's something that we don't want to get into that position. We want to make sure that they are engaged with, and I know Katerina's team have been doing a great job at that. But it takes a lot of effort to get people, to get member countries to join, and we don't want to lose them. Next slide, please, Hugh. So following the executive meeting in Basel, the Presidium asked us to take on, our committee to take on an additional mandate. And we have been assigned by the executive committee to review and provide input on 2 proposals submitted to the executive committee by member guilds. The first was the Belgian proposal, which is to make a number of constitutional changes focused on definitions of membership, i.e. journalists versus communicators, and expanded representation on the Presidium amongst other items related to member participation and transparency. And the German proposal, as Katerina alluded to earlier, is related to membership fees, and their proposal was to put a cap on the number of members charged a membership fee for larger guilds. We have taken these proposals very, very seriously, and we've had a number of meetings as a committee going through it. We've produced a report on both of the proposals with recommendations to the Presidium. And I have to thank the Belgian and German guilds for raising the points, because it's thrown up some other important points that we need to consider about the future of IFAJ. You know, we are an organization that's getting bigger. We want the IFAJ to be an organization that has real clout internationally, that reaches out to intergovernmental agencies, to development funds, and in order to do that, we need to be a grown-up organization ourselves, for a slightly flippant term. But so your points were really well made, and they have been taken seriously, and I wanted you.
Entonces sus puntos fueron muy buenos. Como dije, hicimos el reporte de acuerdo a sus propuestas.
Chaque proposition le comité a approuvé de quelques mesures en juin.
Input, and the Presidium will then make a presentation to the Executive Committee in August based on their deliberations of our 2 reports, and the Executive will then meet in September to decide on what action to take. And I think that's it, Hugh.
Thank you, Jane.
So just to say, if anybody's got any points they want to make, please raise them. But you know, I just want to say to the German and Belgian guilds, we have given this a lot of thought, and we've spent a lot of time working on your two proposals, and we hope that the reports that we've produced will be acceptable and will be seen for the value that. You know, that we hope our vision committee has brought, and the objectivity.
Thank you, Jane. We know that you put a lot of work into that, and we appreciate very much.
Thank you, Katrina.
Jane, it's Melanie here from Belgium. I just also wanted to thank you for considering our proposal and for taking it seriously. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure, Melanie.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, should.
So, will it be that everyone can read the answers or the remarks you made on these proposals after the Presidium talked about it, then later on in August or September? How does it work?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it ultimately is for the Presidium to decide, but I'm all for transparency, and I would say that I think it's important you see the deliberations and the thought that went into it. So my recommendation to the Presidium would be to share those two reports.
Yeah, all right. I hope so too. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jane? If not, Jane, thanks very much for that report, and thanks to you and the committee. The committee was struck with a global presence in mind to try to represent as many regions as possible. So the input there is as diverse as possible. So Jane, thanks again for that report. I can't speak for the next Presidium, but I'm pretty sure the Presidium will bring forward the report from the committee in as much transparency as has been done so far. Okay, carrying on our agenda, we're doing well with our timekeeping here. We have a report from on upcoming IFAJ congresses. The first report that we have is from Per Henrik. Per Henrik, are you ready to give your report now?
Yes, I can do it. It will be a very short one, as we will tomorrow have a presentation of the plans for the Congress next year in Denmark, not this week. And the presentation tomorrow will be at this webinar, where we will have a video, and the president of the Danish Guild, Frederik Talbitzer, will make a presentation and answer questions. So for now, I just say that I don't know, as you may know, all of you, I don't know if you know, all of you, that after the Australians gave up to host the Congress 2021, the Presidium asked if the Danish Guild could take over the next year, as we can reduce very much of our plans from the Congress we had to cancel this year. And it was on this question was at the agenda on our annual general meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it was unanimously decided to say a big yes. We are happy to host the Congress next year when we could not do it this year. I can tell you very shortly now that the venue will be the same in Vingsted, and the dates will be almost the same, a week later or so. Yes, but I think that's all I'll say for now. I will ask you to, I will encourage you to take part in the webinar tomorrow where we'll get more information. Thank you.
Thanks, Per Henrik, and thanks to all the dedication that Denmark, the Danish Guild, has had in being flexible.
Y gracias por ser flexible este año.
Dévouement de Danemark pour cette tâche très importante.
Area. And I know we'll hear some good things tomorrow. I just want to note that the new Congress schedule is on the screen right now. So you can see we'll be in Denmark next year, followed by Switzerland, Canada, Israel, Kenya, and Croatia through to 2026. So that is a very impressive schedule, and I'm sure it'll be kicked off in the right way next year by Denmark. So, Per Henrik, will you please pass on to your colleagues the appreciation of IFAJ to all the planning that you have done and all the work that's going into next year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Next on the schedule, we have Marcus from Switzerland. Would you like to say a few words about the Swiss Congress, Marcus?
Yes, I'm Owen. I'd like to invite you all to the Congress that we plan in 2022. It will be from August 31st until September 4th in Interlaken, which is in the Bernese Oberland. We formally planned to do it in another place, as we were talking about last year's Congress. But as Jane pointed out, that the affordability of a Congress is essential to us all, we changed to Interlaken. Interlaken is a good place. There are lots of mountains there. It's also from the point of view of landscape, it's nice there, but agriculture is also quite close, as almost everything in Switzerland. We hope that we will be ready then, and we hope that also the Corona situation will be different then, so we can have a Congress and have you all there. The theme will be the same: high expectations, high elevations. When we were talking about the expectation of society and the consumer towards agriculture and the food sector in Switzerland, but also beyond. I think there are some global trends that we can look at and that we can learn from each other. We were glad. If you want more information, we have it on the link on the website, and we will soon update you what's going on. But if you can mark the date in your agendas, that will be great. We were glad to host the executive committee in early this year, before the pandemic, the Corona pandemic exploded. That was very great to have you all here with the help of our sponsors. And we hope that it will soon be, despite all the digital opportunities that we have to meet each other, which are really great. And congratulations to the Presidium and to put up this e-Congress this week, which I appreciate very much. Thank you all.
Well, thanks, Marcus. And as many of you may know, Marcus is a past president of IFAJ. And one of the reasons we're able to withstand some of the challenges that we've had financially is because the previous presidiums under Marcus's guidance left us in really good shape. So Marcus, thanks for all your previous work. And it's nice to see you're not done working for IFAJ. You never are. With the hosting the executive was wonderful. It was a great meeting. It was a great facility, and you had wonderful support. It's clear that the agricultural journalists in Switzerland are very much integrated into the whole agricultural economy there. So thanks for all your support, Marcus.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And dear to my heart, in 2023, IFAJ will be coming to Canada. I believe Trevor is awake and online. Is that correct, Trevor?
Yeah, I'm here, Owen. Good morning.
Would you like to say a few words about the 2023 Congress?
Sure, I'd love to. So the 2023 Congress will be in Western Canada. For anyone who would have attended the 2011 Congress, that was out in the province of Ontario, out in Eastern Canada. And so now we are inviting you all to Western Canada, specifically the province of Alberta. And the Congress is slated to take place in the fourth week of June into July. And it will be hosted in a town called Olds, O-L-D-S, Olds, Alberta, which is about, I always say, depending how fast you drive, about 45 minutes to the north of Calgary, which is the major international airport where presumably everyone will fly into. And so we are working still. It's some days it feels close, some days it feels far away. We're having committee meeting, the co-chairs of the committee, myself, Anne-Marie Peterson and Cole Christensen, having a meeting following this meeting, so the timing works out. We've solidified our committees and some of the initial, the typical committees that are sort of ongoing from the early days to finance, the venue, that sort of thing. Those are already underway and people are working right on that. So we are excited to be presenting a true taste of the quote, or excuse me, capital W West to all of you fine folks in the world. So we're very much looking forward to making this a true farm tour and really looking forward to getting out into the middle of nowhere with all of you and having a lot of fun in a couple of years' time.
Thanks, Trevor. Could you just underline how to get to Olds? Because people may not be overly familiar with Olds. As Trevor said, you may have had some mic problems, Trevor. So Olds is a city, O-L-D-S. And Trevor, can you again explain people flying to Calgary, I guess?
Yes, Olds, it's the, and the reason Olds is well known, at least in this area of the world, is because it has a thriving agricultural village, which is very much so committed to leading the charge on digital farming and really a lot of first century smart farming, as we like to call it out here. But as I said, Olds is about 45 to 60 minutes immediately north of the city. So the provincial highway that links Calgary to the capital city of the province, Edmonton, it is right off of that main highway. And so we haven't officially determined transportation. Shuttles are a possibility, but in reality, it's a very short distance from the international airport out to the venue itself.
Great, thanks, thanks, Trevor.
You're welcome, Owen.
Any questions for any of our presenters from the congresses?
There's one there that says, what time of year is the Stampede, which is a large exhibition that will be around that date. Maybe you could mention, Trevor.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampede that year, I believe, begins it's the first Thursday in July, I believe, which would be the 4th or 5th. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but yeah, the Calgary Stampede is the largest agricultural summertime party festival. It's a 10-day event. Typically, it draws anywhere from 1 million to 1.5 million people to the fairground each year. So it is a well attended event, and the entire city, everyone, whether you work in a corporate office or a blue collar job, everyone's encouraged to essentially dress like cowboys and cowgirls for the week. And so it's
Es uno de los congresos debería ser en Alberta.
Il y aura d'autres activités aussi à Alberta aussi. C'est bien de profiter de cette opportunité pour aller au congrès et à cette fête aussi. Est-ce que vous pouvez parler des élections du présidium, s'il vous plaît? Merci à tout le monde.
Along with the Delegate Assembly, this year will be somewhat different because the elections will be held electronically. And thank goodness for the evolution of software and other kinds of platforms which have allowed us to do this all at a distance. We have selected one with the very, I guess, marketable name of Election Buddy. It seems very informal, but it is quite a sophisticated system, as you will find out starting tomorrow. So all the delegates who have been registered from the different guilds that are members of IFAJ will be sent out later today a registration link with a password, which will make it secure so that only those who are registered will be able to vote. The voting will be open from the 26th, which is tomorrow, through till next Thursday. And the rationale for that was that because many of the countries experienced problems with connectivity. I've already had several emails this morning, people saying that they tried to get in, but they haven't been able to do that because of their connection, and wished us all well. So we've scheduled a 1-week election period to allow everybody the chance, regardless of location or work commitments, to be able to vote. And then those votes will be tallied by computer, and it will spit out a report on the voting, which we will then provide to scrutineers for them to verify, to make sure that everything is above board. And on Friday, July the 3rd, we will make the announcement of the new presidium. So normally we would have the elections within the Delegate Assembly, but of course it's difficult to do under the circumstances, which is why we've elected to do it after the Delegate Assembly through the electronic means of Election Buddy. So there's two things that we're going to do in this section on the elections. I need to have approval of the 3 scrutineers who volunteered through the executive committee to take on the task, which is normally what we do. Once we've done that, we will then have a short 5-minute presentation from each of those candidates that have been nominated to the 4 different positions, so that they can provide to the delegates a little bit of information about themselves and their aspirations for the role that they're going to play. You have in the package received the document that contained the names and information on the candidates as they submitted in the nomination process. So those are the 2 tasks we have before us right now. So I'd like to have a motion and a second to approve the 3 scrutineers.
Yes, I will. Marjolein, Netherlands.
Thank you. And a second?
I will, Katharina.
Thank you, Katerina. And unless there are any voices against those three nominations, we will assume that they will take on their role in the coming week. Thank you very much. So, on to the next item for the elections. So we have a short presentation from each one of the candidates, and we'll go through the order. We'll start with the president. Lena Johansson from Sweden has been nominated for that position. Lena. You have no sound, Lena.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. I've been a journalist for 40 years and an agriculture journalist for 30 years. But I've also been working as a communicator for the Federation of Swedish Farmers for 15 years. Today, I work as a political editor-in-chief at Sweden's largest agriculture newspaper. I went to my first IFAJ Congress in Czech Republic and Slovakia in 1995. And since that, I've been to about 20 congresses. And I was also one of the organizers and responsible for the IFAJ Congress in Sweden 2012. And since 2016, I've been IFAJ's vice president. I live in the center of Stockholm, close to the city hall where we had our farewell dinner at the Congress 2012. But I was born and raised on a farm, which I today own together with my siblings. In my country, agriculture and agriculture journalism doesn't have that high status. People seem to have forgotten where they get their food from. But this spring or autumn, something has happened. The pandemic has shown how important it is to have a strong domestic food production. And whatever happens, we will always need food. And people have started to realize that. We who had the opportunity to listen to World Farmers Organization President Theo de Jager the other day at the E-Congress Week, heard him say that there is a new appreciation of farmers globally. He also stressed how important agriculture journalism is. And I couldn't agree more. Agriculture journalism is much too important to be left only to general media. It needs specialized, competent journalists who can fully report and describe the complicated ecological connections, politics, and the farmer's situation. The last months with lockdown and isolation have also shown how much we need each other, both socially and in our work. And thanks to social media and digital communication, we can use our network, even if we can't meet in real life. A strong IFAJ has meant a lot to me during the years, both personally and professionally, and I hope we can keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lena. Good luck.
Thank you.
Vice President position, Steve Werblow.
Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Werblow from the States, if we haven't met yet. I'm a freelancer out of the Northwestern US in Oregon, right on the Oregon-California border. And it's been a real pleasure and a both professional and personal pleasure to have worked as Secretary General over the past 4 years and to get involved with IFAJ on a deeper level, to make friends and to build out my own understanding of global agriculture and to try to help with the professional development programs. As under the vice president role, the remit or the mission changes to communications, and so my goal is to build on what Lena has done, and working with the global office, this great new web portal that's coming online, I think is going to offer us tremendous opportunities to extend the value, the joy, the interest of IFAJ to members wherever they are. So, I mean, here we sit working online in what every communications in the US starts with these unprecedented times. And we're learning a lot about how to communicate and how to deal with challenges and how to stay.
De la pandémie, parce qu'on a beaucoup de défis, donc il faut les adresser correctement et aider tout le monde. Et aussi, c'est important de reprendre cette course, et convertir cette course en avantage pour notre membre, un bénéfice pour notre membre. Donc, c'est important, je pense aussi, d'être transparent, même si on utilise les moyens digitaux. C'est bien de revoir
about it and move our organization forward in the direction that serves our members. So a lot of opportunities to communicate better, and my goal is as vice president would be to help make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And for the position of Secretary General, we have two candidates who will be running for that office, Daniel Agan from Kenya and Adalberto Rossi from Argentina. So Danielle, I'll invite you to step forward first.
A hablar sobre la Secretaría de la posición. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias por el trabajo que sigue adelante.
Building and bringing journalists together who write on science and agriculture specifically. Now, I am the Secretary of the Media for Environment, Science, Health and Agriculture, MESHA, which is a guild, the official guild at the International Federation of Agricultural Journalists, that is IFAJ. And I am the secretary of this association, as well as working very.
Donc, je suis de l'association de paix de l'Afrique et l'association de journalistes africains. Et je suis aussi le guild officiel pour IFAJ.
Where we work with seed companies from all over the world. And among the things that I have done is to ensure that our association, MESHA, gets a niche for itself, cuts a niche for itself at IFAJ and at the World Federation of Science Journalists, where we are rated as one of the most active science journalist association. Now, basically, what I've done is to ensure that we bring African journalists together, because it's very key that African journalists speak about issues of agriculture to ensure that they get into the right conversations. That in itself ensures that they stay on board. In Africa, one of the problems that we have is journalists come and go. They are poached with a lot of organizations, and therefore motivating them to stay in the profession has been of a challenge. And this is one thing that we have ensured, that the African agricultural journalists stay on board, write quality articles, and ensure that they're specialized in this area. And I'm happy to report today that with my work, with my effort, together with others in other African countries, today we have a very strong network that profess agricultural journalism. We believe that bringing journalists together actually help to add value to them so that they can benefit hugely by networking with each other. Sharing experience is one of the greatest things that happens in the life of journalists. And I would say that the experience that I want to bring to IFAJ is that of mobilizing agriculture journalists, that of ensuring that the agriculture journalists can participate and give their best in terms of telling the stories and the African stories, so to speak. I also lead a staff of about 6 people. That basically means that in terms of organization, in terms of ensuring that work is done, that is something that I have done, not just for Kenyan journalists, but also for the African journalists. Our association has got a very large footprint in the continent, and we bring journalists together almost twice in a year to talk about what they do and also to meet experts. A journalist's work, especially in this part of the world, basically is dependent on the kind of interactions that they have. And so through my work and through working with others, networking with others, we think that this is something that should continue. And I'm very happy that when I was listening to the 8-point plan by the team that was working on the strategy for IFAJ in the coming years, it's like we're reading my mind, because those are some of the things that we really want to ensure that we bring on board. So I think that one of the major things that we need for ourselves as journalists from all over the world is to increase how much we connect with each other. So that issue of interconnectivity, that issue of connecting with each other, be it from Europe, be it from Asia, be it from America, be it from South Africa, is something that we really look forward to doing in the coming years. It's also important that we think about issues of ensuring that our affiliations actually work. And one of the things that I think we need to do, I was listening to the Treasurer's report, and one of the things that I think we really need to do is to step up the issue of fundraising. And one of the things that I want to bring on board is that new voice of fundraising, those new sources of fundraising. What we've realized.
Lo que me hizo saber es sobre esa experiencia.
Pour nous, et je pense qu'une des choses qui doit être adressée, c'est le nouvel levée de fonds. Donc, je pense que maintenant, il y a une liste de 3 ou 4 pays africains qui sont
new guilds and bird, to ensure that those who are already in stay there and give their contribution, because losing just one member is a very sad thing for me as a networker. And so we need to ensure that we interact more together as a team and see how these interactions can build better future. And one of the things that I'll really be keen on is the issue of twinning associations or twinning guilds. I think it's high time that Argentina became so close to Africa, Africa became so close to Canada, and so we look at the guilds that we have on board to ensure that we twin these guilds so that we can build the capacity of each other, even as we exchange experience. So I think that basically that's what I would say for now. And I hope that IFAJ will move from strength to strength with me in the post of the Secretary General. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danielle, for that presentation. And now for Adevoto. Can I call you Adi?
Yes, of course. Can I share my screen, Sure?
Yes. Just a second.
Okay.
Norma, can you make Adi the host?
Yeah, just a second.
There you go.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alberto Rossi, and it's my pleasure to make your acquaintance. I have been the president of the Argentine Guild of Agricultural Journalists since 2013, has been the Argentine delegate to the IFAJ for the last 8 years. Based on my nomination to occupy the position of the Secretary General of the IFAJ, I would like to briefly introduce myself and to request your support in the upcoming elections. As many of you already know, from the Argentine Guild, I have organized numerous events and training programs for journalists in different fields, and I have also been responsible for obtaining the financial support required for the operation of the Guild. In 2013, I was in charge of the organization of the IFAJ Annual Congress in Argentina, both as in an executive and commercial aspects. Likewise, during my tenure, the first online program training for agriculture journalists in the world was created, through which the members of the entity had the opportunity to gain access to full scholarships and training related to journalism and agriculture. Currently, this program continues expanding, and there are already 234 graduates. Moreover, I was in charge of maintaining relations with government authorities in search of a better understanding and synergies between government officers and journalists. And currently, I am actively cooperating to promote the creation of guilds of agricultural journalists in Latin America and supporting their incorporation as members of IFAJ. I'm also participate in other activities and responsibilities of relevant value. In addition to my activities to the world of journalists, I am the director of La Chata Solidaria, an NGO that works to combat hunger, child abuse, and lack of education in El Impenetrable, a backwater town located in the middle of a jungle in northern Argentina. This NGO donates food, clothing, and medicine, provides medical and psychological care, and builds multipurpose schools and classrooms for native communities that have been ignored by the system and do not have access to electricity or water, among many other basic services. But what do I consider myself fit to occupy the IFAJ Secretary General? I have known the ins and outs of IFAJ for many years. I share the direction of its related efforts and adhere to the necessary growth of the association. I truly wish that we continue to build a global network of agricultural journalists. I believe we can all grow professionally and exchange our works and publications globally. We must increase our world agricultural development through use of shared knowledge. And I think it's very important to continue training and bringing young journalists into our association. I also believe that we must provide them with the necessary tools for their professional development. And in this sense, I believe that we have sustained current training programs and further expand and improve them for younger journalists. At the same time, it seems fundamental to me that we continue to promote the creation of associations of agricultural journalists in those countries where they do not yet exist, so they can later become part of the IFAJ, and through this will achieve a greater growth and attain a much stronger and vigorous association. A key point will continue to be related to obtaining funds to maintain the proper functioning of the IFAJ and fund training and exchange programs among journalists from around the world. And of course, to continue working to achieve an IFAJ that becomes a bigger, more global, and a stronger player. Before concluding with my presentation, I want to tell you that I'm going to focus all my efforts on asking for financial support from all my contacts all over the world in order to end 2020 with a positive budget. Finally, let me say that I truly appreciate your having taken the time to listen to me, and I hope to count with your support in these elections. I remain at your disposal for any query you wish to make. Thanks for your time and best to all.
Okay, thank you, Adi, for that presentation. And now we'll move to the last position, which is Treasurer. Adrian, 5 minutes of fame.
Thank you, Hugh. Hello again, everybody. For those of you who don't know me and who've not met me, I'm Adrian Bell. I am from the United Kingdom. I've been a member of the British Guild of Agricultural Journalists here in the UK throughout my career for 22 years. And I've always enjoyed the fellowship and the membership and the benefits that the British Guild gives me. But it wasn't until 2007 that I got involved with IFAJ when I took part in a seminar at the Green Week event in Berlin. That really got me interested in IFAJ, and I still owe a big debt of gratitude for Canada, because that was the first Congress which I came to in 2011, and that really got me hooked, and I haven't really looked back since. I'm a firm believer in the maxim that you only get out of something what you put in, which is really why I enjoy putting so much into IFAJ, because I believe all of us get so much out of it. It's friendship, it's interest, it's professional value, and just the sheer enjoyment of belonging to such a diverse and dynamic organization. As treasurer, obviously the financial management of IFAJ falls to me, and in the last 18 months or so, I've also taken on the mantle of bringing us into the 21st century with this reorganization through the foundation and through IFAJ Limited. That's been a lot of work, but I believe it will be well worth it. And of course, having got this far, I really want to continue and see it through to the end. Perhaps I've not made it easier in accepting that the treasurer should sit on both IFAJ Limited and IFAJ Foundation, in that I'm going to have 2 sets of accounts to look after and 2 budgets to prepare and so on. But I think the benefit that it's going to bring to IFAJ is going to be well worthwhile. What it has also meant over the last 18 months is that we haven't been quite as focused on cultivating our sponsorship and partnership and so on in the way that we would want. We have what I believe is a very exciting and comprehensive sponsorship plan, which is lurking in the wings. Some of the executive have seen it when I presented it previously. But until we have the foundation and IFAJ Limited in place, I haven't taken it out, I haven't executed it, because we want to sell the new IFAJ to our potential sponsors. There's so many benefits that come from having the new structure in place that I believe we will have a much better story to tell, which is what my own career is all about, effectively telling stories on behalf of clients. I'm a marketer, I'm a storyteller. I work with my clients to tell stories about themselves, their companies, their products, and mobilize that knowledge to their customers and to their audiences. And I believe that's what we need to do with IFAJ as we move into the new structure. We've got a great story to tell. We've got some fantastic products effectively to sell through involvement with IFAJ, not least of which is this idea of knowledge mobilization that we all do, and that we all do so well respectively in our individual careers. And I'm looking forward to my role in helping to promote that and develop that over hopefully my next term as treasurer.
Thank you, Adrian, for your presentation as well, and thank you to all the candidates for stepping forward to occupy their roles. As I appreciate that it's all as volunteers, and it takes a lot of effort, and it is, as you have all mentioned, for a good cause. So thank you for having taken the time, and look forward to working with all of you as we continue forward. So that's it for the election presentations. After the meeting, I will send out the communications to everybody for the voting with instructions and links. By all means, if you have any further questions about the process and the technology, let me know. Other than that, Owen, it's over to you for other business.
Okay, thanks, you, and thank you to all the candidates. Adrian referenced the new IFAJ. Well, here's something that's going to be very new. For the first time, the Presidium will have representation from either South America or Africa. And for the first time, it appears, if the vote goes as you might expect,
IFAJ va a tener como presidente. ¿Cómo es eso para el primero IFAJ?
Je pense que pour le nouvel IFAJ, ça va être très très bien.
Candidacy, and I will, as past president, I will be glad to support you in any way I can. We have, in the name of good timekeeping here, we're actually 10 minutes ahead of our schedule. Quite rare for a meeting of IFAJ, but maybe there's some efficiencies after all to be gained through a virtual meeting. I would ask if it's any, are there any other business matters that anyone would like to bring forward?
Yes, we have one.
Okay, thanks, Lena. Go ahead, please.
I think it starts with Steve. Okay,
well, we're going to soak up just a couple of those extra minutes that we gained with our good timekeeping, just to honor Owen. It's a great opportunity to look at this new IFAJ and to think about all the contributions you've made, Owen, in terms of getting us there and putting us on this trajectory. So, I mean, Owen, for I'm sure most of the people on this call know Owen's a great guy to have a beer with, to sing a song with. It's also really been great to watch him as a reporter and to read his copy. It's I learn something new every time I stand next to Owen and work beside him. But most of all, I think we can honor his inspiration, the fact that probably the most common words I hear out of Owen's mouth, other than Mustang Sally, you better slow that Mustang down, is that would be great for IFAJ to do. And that spirit has been downright inspiring. And so I know Lena had some words to share, and so I'm going to pass it to her.
Okay, is it my turn, or should we go on with the presentation, Hugh?
Let's do the presentation.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Mustang Sally, guess you better slow your Mustang down.
say, Owen? Though you still are our president, this is the last General Assembly you have been chairing. Therefore, I now take the opportunity to express my gratitude for your long-lasting service in IFAJ. I don't know exactly how many years you have been in the Presidium, but I know you have served on every post except Treasurer. You have been especially focused on professional development and extremely important for the progress of our Masterclass and Young Leaders program. And besides that, as we could see in the presentation, you have given us lots of music and entertainment with the GMOs. My first memory of you is from the Australian Congress in 2000. It's a long time ago, so it has become a bit blurred, but I remember that it involved a lot of Baileys. Since then, we have been to a lot of congresses together, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today. Before you asked me in January 2015 if I could consider running for vice presidency, I hadn't given it a single thought. You said it was time for IFAJ to get its first female president, and you thought I could be the one. With the support from you, I decided to take on the challenge. And even if it has meant quite some work, I have never regretted it. IFAJ is a useful professional network, a great adventure, and kind of a big family. You can now step down with pride and satisfaction, but we are all happy that you will stay in our family and hope that we will meet you at many more congresses. I'm sorry we can't thank you personally, but when we meet next time, you will get a big hug and maybe even a glass of Baileys. Or why not a Carlsberg, as we probably will be in Denmark. Thank you, Owen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, you can applaud.
Thank you for the kind comments, and in particular for your support. I think IFAJ has done well because even though we haven't always agreed on things, we've still managed to stay together. When I look at the colleagues who are on the screens right now, and I know how we worked together over the years, and I think if there's any legacy I can leave, it's that we've all found a way to stay together, united in our commitment to the jobs that we have and to the people that we serve. And in particular, the presidiums that I've worked on have been 12 years now, and the executive members and all the support from the delegates and congresses over the years. And you've put up with me being on stage playing guitar when we really didn't have any idea how we were going to do this. And it's been so much fun. It's been satisfying professionally and personally, and IFAJ is a great organization, and I think that's why we stick with it. And I know I have so much faith in the Presidium going forward, even though this is tough times. I know, just like we've had tough times before. When I first joined IFAJ, it was almost dire straits. Financially, it was difficult. Things were not as cohesive as they are now. And I know we'll get through this, and I know we'll have that glass to raise together in Denmark and in Switzerland and in Canada. So thanks for your kind comments, and thanks for all your support. And I'll look forward to seeing you in Denmark. And I guess my last official duty is to adjourn the meeting, unless there is any other business.
Owen, I would just say it's been such a pleasure working with you. You've been an inspiration to us all, so well done, and thank you for all of the fun you've given us along the way as well. You've got a great ability to combine fun with professionalism, and it's just a real true reflection of your abilities and leadership.
Well, thank you, Jane. And you know how things change over the year. I didn't recognize there was an individual that looked a little bit like me in some of those photos. I didn't quite recognize him, but over the years things change a little bit. My Canadian colleagues had faith in me 12 years ago to nominate me to the Presidium, and I appreciate that. As we know, strong guilds make a strong IFAJ. And I feel confident in 2023 we'll see the Canadian Guild at its best.